Hello, this is Dr. Michele, and today in our studio we have joining us Lindsay and Chad. Welcome, and we really appreciate you being here. They're going to share with us a little bit about their experience in our marriage program, and we're just going to begin with just a basic question, guys. What was the circumstances and the goals for you seeking out a marriage program?
So Chad and I got married almost 8 years ago, and so when we got married, we were doing premarital and postmarital counseling at our church. And so it's funny because one of our pastors recommended you 8 years ago, and at that point we were like, oh, we just don't have the time or money to do it. We're already getting counseling in church, so we decided, just to stick with our church. Well, we go back, fast forward, I guess 8 years or ahead, and so now that's where we are here. And so we got introduced to Dr. Michele and started with her counseling when our son was in kindergarten, probably 2 years ago. And he was just giving us a lot of trouble. He would come home, he was kind of just disobedient, just not listening. We were just struggling, I guess, with parenting, and we didn't know what we were doing wrong. At that point, we thought our marriage was great. There wasn't really any issues with our marriage, but we just needed help with our son. So Chad reached out to Dr. Michele. He Googled Christian counselor, and so funny thing is that she came up. He called her. They had a conversation on the phone probably for an hour, and Chad's like, "Hey, we're going there." And I was like, "All right, great." So anyways, in that first conversation, I remember Chad saying, "Hey, she did say that he could be acting like this because you guys aren't on the same page on your marriage." And I was like, "Well, that's not it. We don't have any problems. We're fine. That's fine. Like,
We're floating on a cloud.
And so we ended up coming here, and we met her, and we did a couple of individual sessions, and then started the marriage program. And really, God put us in the right place at the right time, because things just unfolded in our marriage that we had no idea that it was going to be. And thank God we had her, because at that point, because it was just so supportive. We just learned so much. By the end of it, now we've been going there for the past couple years, and so we're thankful for that. But it definitely, initially it started out as our child, and then it ended up being a marriage counseling, and so
And just realizing that you needed tools that you didn't have.
yes, absolutely.
And you had told me that you had done counseling in the past. What could you describe? What was the difference? What did you gain from this program?
Yeah, so marriage counseling in the past was great. We used pastors and close friends and family friends, but I think this was more specific in teaching us life skills. So I think the other was great and gave us good advice, but yes, Dr. Michele gave us advice, but we also learned about us individually, which I think was really important and key to a marriage, is knowing yourself, knowing your flaws and how to work on that, and just using proper life skills in conflict resolution. And I think that really, and communication is a big thing too. Teaching in communication with your spouse is important.
Right.
Do you want
to add to that?
She did. That was awesome. That was awesome right there. No, but just kind of piggyback off that there. The advice that we were getting at first, it was good. It was what every, I think, engaged couple or newly married couple needs. Is, I call it, kind of the basics to it. But with you, yes, it is advice, but it's more of a teaching there, and it really gets you to understand yourself and your partner there, and I thought that was really cool. Compared to just what's that?
Tell. So I remember Chad and I, during one of our sessions, he got so mad because at sessions, she tells us things that we don't necessarily want to hear or deal with, but they're really good advice. So there were things where she'd call us out on, and we're like, well, no, that's not how. And truly, deep down, you're like, nope, she knew what I was talking about. So, I think being open too. I think we're at a point in our lives where we were really open to learning about ourselves more, trying to make our marriage better.
Meet each other's needs.
Yeah, not always wanting to hear what the truth was, but definitely applying those principles.
And I always refer to the tools as tactical drills, where we just need to drill ourselves so we're not reactive, but we're proactive through the challenges and the crisis and the stresses that we have in life. And I try to give you specific tools and put together a book for you that's a toolbox that you can use. Can you tell me what you've done with that?
So the toolbox. So my wife, she is very. I mean, that toolbox is great. Like it's in the binder, in our room next to the nightstand there. And so anytime that we need to refresh, it's there from A to Z. Like whatever problem you're going through, you just open it up and it's there for you to read through and then just kind of like refresh yourself. So I love the material. They're awesome.
And applying what she had given us, I think, like you said, going back and referencing when you have a conflict, like going through the different paper that you gave us and the different
Steps
dialogues and stuff. Exactly.
I'd give you a checklist.
Is helpful, absolutely. And I think another thing that helped us is we would audio record our sessions, and then the next day we would, or probably within the next week, we would listen to them and type up kind of like an outline of things that were really important. That way we had something to go back and reference in our own words, but remembering what you said, because those sessions are packed, very intense and packed with information that your mind is spinning. So going back and putting it into my own words and organizing it was just was helpful for us.
And we do also a lot of recognizing our foundations, our development, our own thinking patterns, because that's what promotes what comes out of our mouth. So as a man thinks is he, and from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So how would you say what did you learn and how did it affect you to look at the root issues and how that affected your marriage?
Well, that's a good question. Because like when you get married, most people don't think about it. Not only are you marrying your spouse, but to a certain extent, like you're marrying the family and what comes with that. So, you may grow up in a family, and it may be, oh, like I grew up in church, so my family's perfect, so I have nothing to do with the issues. But learning about the root system, and I would say every family has root problems. So there's no perfect family out there.
Right.
And just really digging into that and then kind of self-reflecting on your family. Well, has my family done any of this? And there will be at least one root there that your family has done.
And what did I learn and how am I repeating it?
Correct. And, kind of how can you break those ties there, of that root to where it doesn't affect your kids, grandkids there to come, stuff
right.
like that. So that was
the generational inheritance. We want the good stuff to go down, but not the poor
very
behaviors.
Good. And it's like on the flip side, like it was good to sit back and kind of listen because you're very unbiased there. You're a straight shooter. You don't take sides. And then to learn about my wife's side of the family and kind of that root system there, so that way I'm able to understand if we're going through something there, and it's kind of like, well, is this kind of my root system here or is it hers? And being really just to sit there just to understand and really understand her root system and my root system there, I thought that was very useful.
Okay. And have anything to add, Lindsay? We've talked a lot about the blended families and the extended family issues that sometimes really impact marriages. The constant interaction with family, we want it to be healthy and positive.
Absolutely. I think he said it well. I think Chad is extra lucky because he got two families. I come from a divorced family, so we've got two, instead of one. So, and I think definitely it's helped not only with my family, but also with, extended family and how to, set boundaries and how to approach them properly without, coming off, defensive, and just having the proper tool set and life skills to deal with them in situations. I think that's really improved a lot of our issues, because that isn't every marriage. It doesn't matter. Your family is with you. Those roots and whatever, you had as a childhood is eventually going to come up in some way or another in your marriage. And I think first recognizing those, and then how do we deal with them, and why is this giving you anxiety, or why is that causing an issue? And just having the proper...
And working together as partners.
Absolutely.
And setting the boundary as partners so that it doesn't divide you as a marriage couple.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, which is very important. So you're a little ways out from the marriage program. So how would you say you're just continuing to use those tools and applying them every day?
Things are going great. Like she mentioned, before, like we really, really need this because kind of hit a fork in the road, and it was great timing there. But, with putting everything together there that you have taught us, my biggest takeaway that I love the most, and I would say probably every marriage to a certain extent, is the communication aspect of it. Because I know in heated situations, it's who can be the loudest and who's going to be the last one to talk. When really it could, just be sitting there listening to your spouse, and maybe they're saying something to you and they're trying to get a message across, but you're receiving like another way, and just being able to regurgitate that message back to your spouse, and then just to ask them, hey, like, is this the way, that you meant it there? And, sometimes
Clarifying,
it could
because
be yes.
you might not understand what they're really saying.
Right. And it's sometimes like they could be meaning, to get that point across, and like if you didn't like it, well, that's a time to talk about it, or maybe they were trying to come across a certain way, but I was receiving it differently, and that's a time for Lindsay then to say is, no, like I didn't mean to come across the way. Here's how I meant to come across. So it's really helped there, like on because we used to argue, and it was more of a yelling argue, and I would say since we've been past all that, is it's more of just the communicating. Yeah, we still get in arguments here and there, but it's not the yelling and shouting. It's actually using the tools of communicating there that you've given us, and it's helped out tremendously.
Awesome.
I always like to say, like, whenever conflict comes up or something where I'm like, how would I deal with this? I literally have like Dr. Michele in the back of my head being like, now let's go through the different steps. Like, how did you perceive this? What is the perception you're going to say or give? And so I have all those in the back of my mind, that when something comes up, I know how to properly handle it and to deal with it. And then if I don't know, I'll either pray about it, and then I'll say, text Dr. Michele, can we talk about this?
And I always tell people the most important thing is, what message do you send and what message do you receive? Because if we pay attention to those things, we can have successful relationships.
Absolutely. And I think another one that I liked is like reacting, being proactive versus reacting. And I think this over the past 2 years, I think has shifted, and it's been a slow process. It's not going to change overnight. I don't think anything changes over a couple weeks or something. I think it takes self change, but also being reactive, being proactive versus reactive is important.
Well, guys, anything else to share before we close?
Last thing there, Dr. Michele, we would just like to thank you for everything.
You're so welcome.
I would encourage everyone out there to come to you, honestly, whether they take the
Intensive.
full intensive, or whether they come once a week, or once a month. Yeah, we did all this, but I mean, we still see you once a month there, and that'll never stop, just because I fully believe that you can always be working on something.
Yep.
And there are stuff that comes up within that month that we haven't met, and then you ask us, hey, so how are things going? And then we get to talk to you about that, so it's like a whole new topic, which I think that's awesome. You're definitely a marriage saver
Thank
and
you.
a blessing, and we just want to thank you.
You are
Seriously.
so welcome.
And when we celebrate our anniversary, we always text Dr. Michele.
Yes.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. I love that.
Which we got 8 years coming up.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes, we do appreciate it, and thank you. And you were a counselor, but now you've become a friend to us. So
Yes.
we cherish that relationship and that friendship. So
Thank you so much. And really thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. It's so awesome to have somebody come back after years of doing the marriage program and just walk through it and not really struggling anymore, just growing, which too many people think counseling has always got to be about a problem. But just your heart for continuing growing like you're sharing with everybody is awesome, because your marriage just gets better and better. Your family just gets better and better. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Michele.
Thank you.